Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's on Disney Plus, and welcome to this week's live Q&A. So big hello and welcome to everyone joining live, or if you're watching afterwards. So each and every week I answer questions from our patrons and our YouTube channel members, plus also you can join in the action by either becoming a member of YouTube, because we've got the live chat open right now. You can see quite a few members already in there. Miles, Bubba Trolling and Kalid. I'm sure we'll have some more dropping in soon. Also, you can use the super chat function as well. Send in your questions, all of which help support the website, the YouTube channel, etc. And it really does mean a lot because, it does make a massive difference with your support. So, quick little bit of an update. So the clock's changed here in the UK this morning. So we are now back on normal schedule. So I'm guessing we'll be on this normal time slot now until October. It's always this kind of weird thing. Some countries like the US sometimes go a bit earlier than the UK. I'm not gonna lie, I do actually like those few weeks where we're a little bit different because everything I get all the US news like an hour early. So big hello to you. Thank you, Dana, for joining live. So we've got lots of different questions and stuff. So again, keep sending in those questions. What I tend to do is jump between the live stream questions and also the pre-done questions. So let's start off with the top one. Babak asks, Deli Boys and Mid-Century Modern were both dropped all at once. Do you think this is a good idea for these type of shows? So I'm going to kind of turn this into the main topic of the show, where I asked you, should Disney Plus do more binge drop releases? I also put up a poll as well. Anyone can vote in. I'm currently 29% of you prefer the binge, 60% prefer weekly, and 10% prefer batches. I quite personally, I quite like having like 2 or 3 episodes to start a brand new series and then just a weekly release. I do think that works a little bit better. If you've only got like 3 or 4 or 5 episodes, that's a little bit different. You can kind of get away with it. But I think when you drop everything all at once, generally that means that the buzz around the show will sometimes dry up a little quick. They don't have a long-term publicity plan. So if it's being around weekly, it kind of sort of builds up steam as it moves along. Also means that everyone's on the same page. And I think that's generally a good thing, especially for the bigger shows. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Andor, a Star Wars story season 2, because they're going to be doing 3 episodes a week for 4 weeks, so they're doing a little bit different. So that's going to be interesting to see how that responds. Now, I think obviously Netflix kind of created this, and there's a definite kind of thing of with, for example, the Nielsen charts. So with the Nielsen charts, what they would tend to do is, when Netflix drops a whole series at once, therefore the minutes being watched are drastically higher as people are binging. So if you're only dropping 1 episode of a brand new series and say it's like 40 minutes long, in order to get the same amount of minutes of like a 10 episode series, that's very hard. So that's why generally, especially with the originals and new originals on like the Nielsen chart, Netflix does so well because they're all kind of binge drops. But in the acquired chart, generally the long-running shows, things like Grey's Anatomy, Family Guy, those have built up enough episodes over time that they are just keep rolling and rolling and rolling. And you could look at it the other way of going, how many binge shows that have been dropped have gone on to have like 10, 15 seasons? They don't. They tend to bing, bong, and they're gone. Whereas these long-running shows that run on linear and have this strategic platform of having weekly releases and having like episode of the week kind of thing, they run and they run and they run. Now, I do think particularly with Babak's question here about Mid-Century Modern and Deli Boys, but I need to watch Mid-Century Modern. It just came out here in the UK yesterday, on Saturday, so on Friday. I think with comedy, it's a little bit of a, again, I probably would have gone with the drop 3 episodes and then do weekly afterwards. The thing with comedy shows is people need time to get to know them. People need time to get used to them. And 10 episodes, 8 episodes, etc. isn't very long for a comedy. You need that little time to bed things in because they're trying to tell things like Seinfeld, Friends, Frasier, etc. They all took years to get people used to them. And I don't think the studios have got the same like wait and see mode. Hopefully with these shows, I think they should really, in reality, like if you're going to commission these kind of ones, once you go for the pilot, you maybe go, right, okay, we're going to do 3 seasons, because 3 seasons would only be maybe like 30 episodes. In the old days, they used to do like a 22, 24 episode season. So I think they could do that a little bit good. A lot of people talking here of mid-century modern. A lot of people looking. Babak said it was really good. It was hilarious. It's definitely one I need to check out. I like to see ABC air those episodes during the summer. I wish they would do a lot of that. Yeah, I definitely think that's the way. Caleb also said, to answer the question of the headline, I'm not in favor of the binge drop, since the conversations for about a show fizzle after a few days, whereas with weekly releases, the anticipation builds up. I don't mind having that 2-episode drop at the first week, and then after that, I'm guessing Andor will be a batch release. Yeah, so Andor is 3 episodes a week for 4 weeks. They're kind of doing it in chapters. I think there's also that difference of what type of show it is. If you like with Andor, each of those 3 episodes is one particular story, is one chapter. So I can see why they did. I think they're just trying to get people watching it. I think that's what they're looking at. And maybe, I don't know, I think the weekly release schedule works really well. Andor's an interesting one. I do think it's kind of makes sense of what they're doing, but also it means they can focus all of their attention on publicity for like a month or 6 weeks and really kind of blast it all at once. I'm just going to keep on the topic of this for the minute. Babak says if it's a 10 to 12 episode shows, are like 3 to 4 episodes a week, so it's all in 1 month. I think, again, there's a difference, I think, for like a comedy show and like a drama series. Dana says, totally agree with Caleb, but especially if it's a 10 episode show, you have 2 months for the show to build buzz. Chris says, why, if a show is dropped all at once, if it doesn't get a reasonable views within a few weeks and considered a failure, they should give it more time? There's definitely, I think, a case of most of the views come in those first few weeks when it comes out, when there's a lot of buzz around it. And over time, they do build up. Now, apparently, I have been seeing reports of like, was it the Acolyte has been consistently just building up viewership. So there is an element of things can build over time. And I do think with comedies, as time goes on, when the second season comes along, it can help boost up and get more people into it. I think putting it out on other channels, just getting people to watch it, and putting a couple episodes up on ABC, run it. It's like with Mid-Centuries and Deli Boys. Why not release them on linear channels? I mean, I think we're at a point where we need to start looking. Disney needs to just think, right, linear and streaming are different customers. They're not the same, and we should try and just make it as easy as possible for people to watch it, make the most get going. Kelly says, I'm guessing the reason they're speed running Andor, since they might have something big coming out later on Disney Plus. Well, we've got Andor coming out obviously in April and pretty much May. Ironheart is then going to be June into July. Then what have we got after that? Then we've got no major new shows. What have we got? Wonder Man is coming out later this year. Percy Jackson is December. Trying to think what we've got dropping between like August, September, October. When I don't think we've got no other Star Wars shows. So it does seem, I don't know. It just does seem a little bit weird. Barbic says, I think Deli Boys and Mid-Century Modern would do well on FX since they're more tailored for adults. Yeah, that'd be good. The one and only Tinkerbell said, I don't like binging. I don't have the time to watch so many episodes. I immediately forget what happened. I remember weekly shows better after they finish. There is an element. I think that is fine. I think you are. I think that's definitely right. Baba Charlie says, to answer the question, small shows is fine, but big shows like D&D are going to be more of a hit than weekly. Aaliyah says, with Andor, I think each batch equals a year. Yeah, so essentially what they've done with Andor is originally they planned for a 5-season show, and each season was going to cover a year in the build between the start and Rogue One. I think they decided the show was too expensive and they needed to change stuff. So each 3-episode chapter is 1 year. So yeah, we're going to get those 4 years over the space of a month. Ironheart is coming next. I'm also guessing it might be something big for Hulu since the synergy is increasing. Yeah, I mean, I think like if you look at like September generally, August, like we're then going into the full season, so then you're getting all of the big boys, all the big shows coming in. So I think that will obviously have a big impact. And I do think I'm still would not be at all surprised if the launch of ESPN flagship is the catalyst for the start of the next phase of Hulu. Aaliyah says the remove continue watching was my number one request. Now that Disney has granted my wish, which feature should now become an item I should focus on and give them feedback about to fix or improve? So my thing would be right now would be leaving. Actually, here's another question kind of similar to this one. Keenan asks, what other features do you think Disney Plus could improve after Disney Plus added in the remove and continue watching? So I've got two that I would like to see added. First and foremost, a leaving soon section. We just saw the launch of the coming soon section on Disney Plus in many countries. I would like to see a leaving soon area so we can see what is leaving. Maybe a highlight inside saying that this show is this film will expire. I think with the addition of Hulu on Disney Plus, I think it is vital, and I think it's wrong that they don't have it in there. I think it's very, before Disney Plus, when we weren't losing stuff, if we were losing one movie a month to go to, Stars or something like it was a few years ago, it kind of made sense that they didn't have a section because they didn't really maybe want to advertise it, but also we were only losing one or two titles a month. But with Hulu or Disney Plus, you're losing dozens of titles. I think we should have either just an area for leaving soon, or at least have a little yellow marker just saying that it's going to be leaving in a week. I think now we are in need of it. I think that's something that should happen automatically now. I don't think they should be allowed to get away with not doing that much longer. On a secondary feature on the front page, when a new episode comes out, I would like a little box just to pop up saying a new episode. Just something just to highlight on that homepage that there is, not just on because they've been doing it a little bit on the big banner. I'd like it on the little rectangles just to kind of highlight that a new episode has been added. Mamo says, when do you think Disney will put the coming soon collection to Disney Plus in the US? I don't know. I think the problem is a lot of the stuff that's on the coming soon section. So if I have a look here now, let's just do share. We'll do this one. So here we are. So we're in the UK at the minute. Let's see what we've got here. I'll find it. Let's see somewhere. They keep moving it. Oh, it was here. Yesterday morning it was at the bottom. They keep moving everything around in here. They keep moving stuff. All right, let's try again. Coming soon. Here we go. So the problem is, for example, with this coming soon section is, and this is why I think the US doesn't have it yet. Hulu, Stolen Girl. Hulu, Great Good American Family. Hulu, Real Pain. Hulu, Earth, Alien Earth. Hulu, Dying for Sex. Okay, then we got Pets and Robo Gobo. Literally, the US section, if you didn't have the Hulu section, you've only got 2 titles here. And new episodes released, this section at the minute doesn't work without the Hulu subscription. And I think that's probably why they haven't got it yet. That would be my thing. Oh, we've got a really weird looking. Is that share? Why does it look so weird? That's really weird. I've never seen it ever look that color before. I'm just going to try that again. That looked really, really, really weird. No, I don't know why. I don't know why it's. There we go. That is very strange. I don't know what that's doing. Okay. Very odd. Okay. Khaled says, asked a question. With 20th Century reportedly striking a deal with Scorsese for the next film, do you think the head of Disney Live Action is getting things right on track? I think we're definitely seeing 20th Century Studios being able to move into that zone of starting to be a little bit more confident in making non-franchised films and making, and I think they need that freedom. I think Disney needs it. I think they need to try pushing the boundaries. The streaming element needs it. I think having different types of stories is good. Not all of them are going to be hits, but they can, they can. It just makes sense for 20th century to be. To me, it feels like 20th century. They could pop out a movie every single month. Same thing with Searchlight. Searchlight Pictures and 20th Century should be pretty much putting out a movie a month, because there is, they got the Amateur coming up. Well, that's not, you don't need to watch the whole of the MCU or the Marvel, all of that is very different. So yeah, I'm definitely kind of in that zone that I think we should kind of hold off on that. Keenan says, so I saw Snow White last Tuesday and it was good. It was also kind of a scary film. I mean, if you've ever been on the ride at Disneyland, it's quite scary for kids. Why are so many people that really don't like the film? Please keep out. Right, Snow White. Where can I say? In Snow White is like an onion. It has many layers. It's a bit like the apple. It's full of layers of why people are not going and seeing it. And there is no one reason why it is. And different people online and arguing over who's to blame, what's to blame. The reports over the weekend of what Zegler was like. There's multiple reasons. There's not any. You could ask why people are not going and seeing it, and there are going to be different answers depending on who you ask. Now, I haven't gone and seen it at the cinema. And for me, it was just along the lines of, I don't really have any kind of thing for Snow White. I don't really, the movie's okay. I like the dwarfs, but, it's like, I'll wait for digital. I just don't, it was a bit like, I just don't need to go see it. There's lots of advertising. When I was up in London earlier this week to celebrate, with Disney, the 5th anniversary of Disney Plus launching, there was buses full of Snow White trailer, and it was right on in Leicester Square, etc. I just wasn't interested. Let me know. Have any of you not gone and seen it? And there is this kind of thing of, there are political reasons. Some people don't want to go see it because of Gal Gadot. Some people don't want to go see it because of Rachel Zegler. Some people don't want to go see it because they don't like the two people, or they don't like that. Some people don't want to go see a live action remake. Some people don't want to see it because it's woke. They don't, you got some people that just don't want to see it because it doesn't look very good. There are multiple reasons, and everyone obviously, it's your money. If you want to go to cinema or you don't want to go to cinema and see a movie, it's your choice. That ultimately comes down to you. But I do think with this movie, there's multiple problems with it, and it's probably one of the most movies that I can't remember a movie. I think maybe Little Mermaid had elements of this, but I don't remember it being quite as vicious as it was. Where this movie has just come under so much scrutiny, so much people just not wanting to go see it, and just so much negativity. I do think that this is a movie that Disney is just going to just go, okay, let's move along. They'll do a little push for Disney Plus and things, and just kind of go like, they're not going to spend hardly any money on advertising it. They're just gonna, I don't know what's the box office for it at the minute. Box office Snow White. I mean, I just don't know what this. They were damned if they do, damned if they didn't. No matter what they did was going to cause a problem. So at the minute, it's sitting about 100 million worldwide. Yeah, it's tough. It's going to be tough. I mean, I can't see it hitting 200 million. Being honest. Yeah, you know what, Aaliyah, you are 100% right. As Paul of Heavy Spoilers said, it's wild that the live-action remake of Snow White became one of the most controversial films of all time. It is crazy how you can take one of the most simplest movies and one of the easiest ones for Disney you would have thought to have translated, and they literally hit the branch on the fall down on every single one. It's crazy. The one and only Tinkerbell says, I saw Snow White and I liked it, not as much as the original, but I had a good time. This is the thing. I'm really glad that people are enjoying the film, because I think in some ways, I like the fact that there's that little part of me that's a bit like, there's nothing better than for a controversial movie like this where people are hate what, just not like it. When it turns around and it's good, and it's a bit like, yeah, I'm gonna watch it. But sometimes I wait a little bit. I mean, me and my wife, we just watched Wicked this afternoon. We rented that one. So yeah, to me, it's like, this is not a movie I need to go see. It's just not there. I mean, I want to go see The Amateur. Whether or not I go see that at the cinema, I'm not sure. Thunderbolts for me is a must see. 9:00 in the morning, AM. I will be there. Elio, I probably will try and get to see it if I can. Because I like those. But yeah, but for me, like Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts are a must go see. Avatar is going to be another one. I will be there first thing on the very first screening at my local cinema. I will be there for Avatar. That'll be what I'll be doing. Let's just see what other questions we've got here from the live stream. Let's see where we go. Oh, here we go. Miles, on that subject, given the poor performance of Snow White, do you think Disney has altered or is planning to alter its strategy for their live action film slate in the future? Oh, 100%. 100%. They need to. You can't keep, hitting your doing this. You can't afford to keep bumping. And I think they have oversaturated the market. I think they've pushed too far and people have had enough. They've you could say they've taken some liberties with some of the stories and people have not responded well to it. And that is a lesson that they're going to learn. People don't like it. Whether or not some of us like it, some people are, indifferent. I couldn't care less about some of the changes. It's there, but obviously the audience is showing that it's not there yet. And maybe, they've pushed a little bit harder than the audience is willing to go. And sometimes, the market will find a way. I mean, I don't necessarily think, an intervention from outside sources. At the end of the day, the customer is telling them what they like and what they don't like. Let's see what we've got. Elias says, with the Acolyte report, it's dubious. That is Parrot Analytics, and they include social media convos in the report. If the social media noise doesn't equal views, it's still 100%. If you're telling me that they're taking in social media conversations, meaningless, absolutely meaningless to me, because that can be so easily manipulated with bots. Yeah, and especially like with Twitter and stuff. You can't believe any of it on there anymore. It's a complete cesspool of just waste. It's just if it's going by social trends and all the rest of it on social media, it's all manipulated and it's getting ridiculous. We can't trust it. Chris says, why is it that Hulu on Disney Plus only shows a small list of movies they offer? And is there a way online where we can see a list of all the movies that Hulu offers? So each month now, when we get the What's on Disney Plus, or when we get the list come through, so you'll find it on my list that I put up on the website, we do get informed of a few of the titles that are on there. As far as like what's available and what's not, it is actually tricky because I have a Hulu subscription on my US account. I don't see the free stuff. So that's a problem. I'm not going to lie. I'm not having a third Disney Plus account. It's bad enough having two. I'm already paying for two subscriptions. I'm not paying for a third. There is that kind of thing of if you are a non-Hulu subscriber, when you go into the Hulu hub, you should be able to see a list of the movies that are included for free. And they keep changing. At the end of the day, there's not probably going to be a list because it keeps changing, but also where's the interest in that? Who's really going into it? It's kind of essentially it's just a freebie that they're giving away, and it's going to be difficult for any of that to kind of click in. But yeah, we do know, I think Prey, there's a couple of titles that they did say in advance that will be available for free, but how long they are, they keep rotating them and stuff, so that's definitely an issue. Kelly says, one thing I do like with the Hulu on Disney Plus, quietly re-add shows that they previously removed. I know that Hulu brought back Fresh Prince and Funhouse, and they brought back DB Super. Yeah, that is a good thing. Babak says, I think the reason why they're coming soon and Searchlight collections aren't on the Disney Plus is there's a lot of stuff there that's on Hulu and not on Disney Plus. This is a big problem, is the Hulu on Disney Plus side is a lot of what the collections are, and that is where the difficulty comes in. Bobatron says, I think Disney Plus needs to improve the autoplay on Hulu content. Does it not do the autoplay? I mean, I'm wondering there might be a problem with like parental stuff of, you don't necessarily want to auto be jumping into an episode or a show that is maybe not suitable. That could be a problem. The one thing I see Disney Plus add is a thumbs up and a thumbs down that Hulu standalone has that would help with the algorithms. Yeah, I mean, I do this. I do try to do it on Netflix. I do forget, but an up-down list is a good way of sending an extra signal rather than just by viewership, because the thing is and this is the problem with the algorithm system is, so like, say for example, me and my wife, we watched Odessa last weekend, right? But we only watched it on, I think it was maybe my account, so she didn't watch it. Now the trouble is if the watch time shows that we watched the entire film on my account, so therefore it will highlight that I was interested in it. Now, whether or not I enjoyed it or whatever it is, a thumbs up, thumbs down would be good. But also on her account, when the movie comes up, she might be able to go like thumbs down, I didn't like it, whatever. It's a bit like that with Netflix. Sometimes I'll do an up or down because I didn't watch it on my profile. We watched it on my wife's. So therefore, I'm just sending the signal to the algorithm, like, I like that, show me more of that, or I didn't like this, don't show me that. Kay says, I don't mind 20th Century and Scorsese collaborating. However, the film budget needs to be manageable. Killers of the Flower Moon, did at least off. From Apple was bloated budget and it was a box office loss. I'm probably not I am not a huge fan of Martin Scorsese films. Everyone I've ever watched, I've been bored by. His type of movies are not for me. And I know people do enjoy it, but I do think there's a little bit of, he seems to get a pass by the studios that they're just throwing money at him because of his history. But I don't think he's actually delivering the results in terms of viewership or box office that determines the amount of money he should be getting. I know his history and all the rest of it, but that isn't translating very well. Kelly says, with the box office was a loss for Paramount as well, despite rave earnings. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these ones were on, they just don't tend to do it. Miles says, Kelly says, I guess Apple distributed the film while Paramount was just a co-producer. Either way, Disney should learn from those mistakes and keep the budget management. They have really, really got to keep their budgets in line. I think they've got way carried away. The box office is not where it was before the pandemic. It might never recover, and they need to readjust their budgets. And I think we are going to see some movies where there are going to be less special effects. I do think they got a little bit carried away with green screen, where I know Marvel did, where it was like, I still remember this thing. There was a shot of from Secret Invasion of Samuel Jackson sitting in a chair with like a toy gun, but with green bits all over it in a green screen. It's like he was sat in a room with a gun. Like, why on earth did he not just have a prop, a plastic, a fake gun? They don't need to have real guns. We don't need to go down that line. It just seemed like such a thing of like, you could have filmed that in a real room with real props, and that would have been so much cheaper and easier and not have to have people coming in and editing stuff afterwards. It's just a bit weird with that one. Aaliyah says, eyeing a budget of 215, 230 global run, which considering the budget is above. Yeah, it's definitely going to be. Barbatronic says he's going to watch it on Disney Plus. Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of people that will, actually. Kayla says, do cinemas open at 9 a.m. there? That's too early for me. I've heard of India cinemas having screenings at 6 a.m. I say more power to those that want to get up at time. I went and watched Captain America Brave New World. It started at 8:45. Yeah, I will go see a movie. I'm just going to have a look here. See, they don't tend to do. Oh, they want an update. That's typical. Always wants an up. Yeah, I mean, I try and get there. For me, it's great because the kids are at school, so there's no kids in the cinema making noise, and there's less people there. I can usually get parked easier, especially in the winter when there's no tourists around. So it makes it easier just to get in and do it. And that's even in the, and for me as well, that works in the summer as well, where it's easier for me to get in first thing in the morning, get the free spots. So like tomorrow morning, I mean, like Snow White isn't on till 3 o'clock. I think it's only really like by the looks of it, tomorrow in my local cinema, there's nothing on in the morning. But usually on the Fridays, that is when they will do the early. I think they know that people are interested to see a brand new movie on the day it comes out. Kenneth says, like singles and doubles approach to a balance on high and medium budget films, particularly since David Greenberg and Daria have joined the Disney live action. You need a mix. You need a nice mix. I mean, I like having the Searchlight Pictures and the 20th Century Films and the family. I think it's so much better for Disney to have a mix of films to be coming through rather than just where they got like Marvel, Star Wars, live action remake, Star Wars, Marvel. But that's what it was starting to feel like. Will they decide that they only have to do a coming soon section for those that have the bundle and are paying for Hulu, or will they work on a way? I would imagine they're going to have to wait and see. Okay, so I don't mind Marvel Studios doing more productions in Toronto or London due to the US being an unstable environment. However, they can always film locations that can double for New York City or LA on Massa. They film a lot of the UK, a lot of the Marvel stuff. A lot of it gets filmed in Atlanta or London. They do film in both. I think both Avengers are getting done in London at Pinewood. It's just, I think we've got the technology, we've got the talent and stuff, but also probably good tax cuts and stuff to get them in there. But Petroni says, do you think that Disney will make a playlist of ABC shows without the local news? Probably not. I think they'll just want you to. I don't think there's going to be that much interest. I can't imagine a lot of people really wanting to watch like a rolling list of like Good Morning America and all those kind of things. They're kind of like on the day. You know, do you really want to go back and like how long would you going to go back? How are you going to go back and watch an episode of The View from a month ago? I think they're very timely. Chris says, I've been watching The Simpsons live stream in the afternoon, a couple of hours it freezes and then gives me an error screen. Is that supposed to happen to save bandwidth? Sounds like it's just a bit of a problem, really. I don't know why that is. We haven't got the live streams here in the UK, so I've not been able to like try it. Right, here we go. Oh, Matt asked, what do you think of the announcement Marvel made on Wednesday for the cast of Avengers Doomsday? Okay, so I'm really torn on this. On one hand, this was a massive hit for Disney. It pulled in a load of audience. Loads of people checked out the video. It was trending on social media for hours. There was billions of articles being written about every actor that was turning up in it. And I got a little bit like, well, no. So it did the job it was supposed to do. It was supposed to do it. Let's, that was a thing of that it did. It got attention. It got people talking, and that's good. There's a lot of characters I think that weren't announced that will be in it, but I think it did the job. It was it managed to grab the headlines and it did its job. Now, the question is, could this have been done with a better presentation with Kevin Feige announcing it all? It would have been a damn sight more entertaining to watch than every 10 to 12 minutes a chair moving, because it was, other than the last bit with Robert Downey Jr. and the little chair for Ant-Man, it wasn't exactly, let's say, the most riveting one. And I ended up just having it on in the background and watching it like that. So, yeah, I mean, I hope they never do it again. I think whatever they did this once, they shouldn't do it again. I think they had to kind of get some of the names out for maybe people that are going to be going into London, and the names are going to get spoiled anyway. So they kind of had to get ahead of the leaks. I mean, I think you're not necessarily going to have the leaks maybe from the set, but the problem is if you've got those actors in London filming stuff, they're going to get spotted somewhere, and it's going to be like, why are you in London? right? So they have to kind of I think they just broke it so that there's still going to be specials, there's still going to be cameos and things like that. So I understand what they did. It worked. It for me, it was just a really dull way of doing it, and I just kind of wanted it over with. So I wasn't so keen on that. There was a lot of buzz when like Patrick Stewart's name came up, and then that was followed with Ian McKellen. That kind of then got a load of buzz going. I also think it helps set up that Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts are important for the upcoming Avengers movie, so that will help drive people into those movies. I think that's part of it as well, because essentially it was X-Men, Fantastic Four, Thunderbolts, and a few random characters that, you know, that kind of thing. So I think it did its job. I heard a lot of people like talking about they should have got all the actors together and they could have done a big presentation. That would have cost too much money. Getting all of them in, because all of them might be in Avengers Doomsday. They're not all going to be on set filming at the same time. You know, that's difficult. Mama says, why did Disney and Marvel do a 5 hours of character chairs live stream as a cast announcement? They did something different. They did something that got people's attention, and it worked. There's no doubt about it that thing that they did worked from a PR point of view. It worked. And Caleb also says, do you felt that the Marvel Studios cast reveal of Avengers Doomsday felt underwhelming? I think it felt underwhelming because we had it for 6 hours. It was just going on. So every like 10 minutes, it was like here. So I think, and I also think as well, we had the X-Men reveal, but there wasn't really a lot of characters in there that were like, oh my God, you're telling me that, you know, Thor and Shang-Chi are going to be in the new Avengers film. Ooh. I think there's been more talk about the characters that aren't announced. Bubbock says, do you think the US will get the Coming Soon collection or the Searchlight collection? Probably not for a while, not until they sort out what they're doing with Hulu. Keenan says the Mandalorian and Grogu will have a budget of $166 million, the lowest Star Wars budget since Revenge of the Sith. Good. I think this is good. I think the way that they film it, obviously with the volume, this was going to be a Disney Plus series, so therefore that kind of fits in line. This to me, I mean, 166 million still seems to be a very expensive movie. It's not like it's cheap. But I think also technology's moved on. They can do things quicker. I think this is good. I think this is because that means that if it hits 350 million, we're moving into like profitability section, and there's no telling what this movie's going to do. The damage done to the Star Wars brand could impact on this, especially if people think it's just a Disney Plus show. Miles says, do you think the 20th that will film the new Martin Scorsese new crime thriller set in Hawaii alongside his adaptation of The Devil in the Wind of the White City? It was probably just doing back to back, I would imagine. He just moves from one project to the next. Barbuk says, now that we have a removed feature and Coming Soon collection, what could be next for Disney Plus? I'm hoping more live streams, leaving soon, better indication of what's new, an algorithm. That'll be nice. Miles says, do you think Martin Scorsese and Disney have reconciled after the Condon controversy in 1997? Well, it's been a long time. So it's like been nearly 30 years. The fact they've been working together on other projects, I would definitely say they have. Miles says, what do you think about the disappointment at the box office for Snow White? According to the New York Times, the film had a budget of $350 million. They just hit every single problem for this film, and it is an uphill battle that they can't win. This is a movie that is never going to pull in enough money. It will be labeled a brand. There is nothing worse for a box office movie to be labeled a flop before it comes out, and then everyone to think it's a flop. So it becomes the prophecy. It was a flop before, and that was the problem. And that it's got this massive label slapped on it, and if the minute people think that it's a flop or it's not very good or there's a reason not to go see it, people will not go see it. People are not going to the cinema in that same way that they were 5-10 years ago. There's just people are going to the cinema much less, And the box office is showing that. I think generally like 25-30% lower year on year. People are just going to the, and people could say, well, if they put out better movies and the cinemas improve, like, yes, that could all improve it. But we also have massive, it's like this afternoon, watching Wicked on a big screen with the sound things. It's like, and no interruptions from other people. Why do what's wrong with that? I think this is the thing of, there's this idea of getting people back to the cinema because there's no alternative. And it's like, the alternative at home is better for most people. Matt says, why do other countries have more collections than the US, like the comedy collection? This is all coming down to availability and Hulu and so it's like they added a stand-up comedy special collection on Disney Plus in the US because they've got loads of stuff from the Hulu side. It's not here in the UK because we haven't got that many. We've only got like 5 or 6 of them. A lot of it is just down to this mix-up. So I'm just going to run through the last of these pre-done questions and they'll be live for the rest of the show. So if you've got any more questions, feel free to pop them in. I'll jump in there in a minute. Dana says, I saw on a podcast on X that Apple TV Plus is losing money. Do you think Disney should start looking at making a deal to bring that streaming platform to Disney Plus? Yes, I think they were losing about $1 billion. I mean, all the streaming services were losing money for a long time. Now people will say, well, Apple makes so much money, they're not going to notice. They're going to notice. There's going to be a limit to how much they can push it. Now, I think Apple TV is a really good service. It has some really great shows. I'm subscribed, but I have an Apple TV box and I have an Apple TV phone. So, I'm in the Apple system, and I'm happy with it. The thing is, as well, with this Apple TV thing, is they aren't just selling you the Apple TV subscription. Yeah, it's like, I think I'm paying like $8.99 a month for it. But there's a lot of people that will have the one app like thing where you get the news subscription, the magazine subscription, the game subscription, the music, the OneDrive, and the movies. And you're getting all of it like for 15, 18 quid. And now I have YouTube Premium, so therefore I don't need the music side because I've already got my music with YouTube. That's why I got rid of Spotify, because I was like, well, why am I paying for both? If I didn't have a YouTube Premium, then I might be like, well, actually, it might make more sense for me to have Apple. There's different ways of doing it. But Apple are making a lot of money from their subscription services, but they've got ways of making money from other developed areas that the other networks don't have. John says, what do you think is going to happen with Fubo and Hulu Live TV deal and the FCC? Well, I mean, there's been FCC have written to Disney to investigate their DEI procedures. Disney is going to be making as many changes as they possibly can to get this deal to go through. They did state that it was going to be like a year. I think they knew that there could be problems. I don't think they necessarily need to do it. I think they could probably just, if it doesn't get through, they probably even just sell Hulu Live TV business to Fubo and get out of it. I think Disney are going to make a lot of changes internally. They've already have been. They are going to completely comply with whatever the FCC want, because business just dictates that they're just going to just fold. They're not going to put up any fight for any of it. Dana says, what are your thoughts on the first episode of Stephanie's Places of CM Punk? I got emotional a couple of times. I've seen a couple of clips. The trouble is, it's not on Disney Plus here in the UK, and I don't know what platform, because we don't have ESPN Plus here. It's a bit difficult, and it's a bit buggy when I'm trying watching anything on there. So I've seen a few clips. It's a bit annoying. Since WWE's moved its deal with Netflix, it's slightly frustrating because Evolve is on YouTube. The LFG show isn't anywhere. I can see a few clips on YouTube. That's as much as it is. And now it's like they've gone to all these different platforms, but they're not global, and it's really annoying. I must be honest. Sometimes I've been watching, like, I still go back to YouTube and watch the highlights rather than sit for a 2-hour episode of NXT. Bobo Trolling says, do you think Disney will be the third streaming company as a good thing for the overall look for the FCC? Yeah, I think there's a good side of that. I don't think the FCC really care about the element of competition. At the minute, it's just scoring points and trying to get what they want through. There is competition. You've got Netflix, you've got Amazon, you've got Apple, you've got Comcast, there is competition. There's multiple companies all competing, Warner Brothers, Paramount. The competition element is not really a thing. They're just trying to get people to do what they want. And last question, Tinkerbell asked, the FCC is launching an investigation into Disney's DI programs. What do you think will change in response to that? Will we only get programs with white men as the main protagonists? So, first off, what's going to change? We're going to see a sweeping change through within the company of their policies. You're going to see any mention of, like, there has been reports, I think, like Dana Walden had said that there was a lot of shows that they were trying to make and they didn't comply with their ratios of what they needed, and they got that kind of stuff. To me, I was like, really, you dumped a really good show because it didn't hit a statistic on who you that's not good enough to me. And I think that's the thing of, if the story is good, you should move on with it regardless. You can go, because it can go either way. It doesn't matter who's in it. If the story's good and it's about a particular race or whatever it is, or relationships or whatever, if the story's there, that's what should be the most important thing. And they have said they're going to be focusing on stories rather than the message. I think you're going to see a lot of internal change. We're probably not going to see too much about it publicly. There's going to be people putting in, like, releasing the information to, like, deadline and trying to get Disney to backtrack a bit. They are gonna just change their policies, and they should just make the policies of, we are going to treat everybody fairly. Everyone gets treated exactly the same, and that's how it should be. Everyone has when they have a new job opportunity or as a new character, whatever it is, open for everybody. That's the best way of doing it. You need to have that kind of thing of everyone's fair and free to go into it, and they're not discriminating against anybody. Everyone gets through, and I think that's where I think it should get through. I think it's got a little bit jumbled up over it. I mean, the whole thing of just having white men as male protagonists, that's not fun either. That's not going to, I mean, there is going to be evidence that, if you've got a movie or a show with a white male, maybe as the main character, you are going to appeal to that audience. That's and there's nothing wrong with that. There's a big portion of their audience, but at the same time, growing up watching shows like, I'm trying to so if I go back to, like, when I was a kid, so if I was watching a show like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, well, that wouldn't actually that show wouldn't comply to the rules of today. Power Rangers wouldn't. So many shows wouldn't comply because of the ratio. I just feel like they're going to focus on the story, and I think they need to tweak things, and that's what they're going to do. I do think we're going to see some. Maybe the only thing that I think is going to publicly happen, I think the Octave Collective, that thing is that studio is endangered. That I can't see that one going. I can't see that studio lasting. Well, I don't think it's going to last till the summer. I think they've only literally got, like, one program. Like, they've hardly announced any shows, any movies from that division. I think we've got, like, another season of Reasonable Doubt or something. That studio will get swallowed up into 20th Television. I don't know if Anscape might get swallowed up into ESPN. I could see that happening as well. I think those kind of things. I think we might end up losing, like, some of the collections on Disney Plus, like Pride, Her Collection, Black Collection. I just don't know if they might get rid of that or not. I don't know. We are going to see a difference. I think we are going to see a difference in terms of characters on screen. But also, I mean, maybe they're going to get rid of the quota, so it doesn't. Sometimes I do feel like I will think back to a show like How I Met Your Father. Was a show that you looked at those like 6 characters, and I think this is a problem for the show, was it didn't feel authentic. It didn't feel like these were 6 people that you would they're not friends. They're just 6 people that randomly tick every single box, and that's what people don't like the look of. And I think that was a problem with that show. And it's not necessarily that they all had to be, just white, like Friends or anything like that. That wouldn't have been right either. But that's kind of, I think they there's been some creative choices made that haven't worked, and the audiences have just gone, yeah, don't like it. Octave Collective. Octave? That's how I'm pronouncing it. Oxy Collective, the OA Octave. I don't know. It's just me reading it. I've never heard of I've not actually ever heard the name said out loud. So that's why it's Octave. Let's see what we've got here. Mao says, do you think that the opening weekend for Snow White was a victory considering its budget? Nope, it was a big failure. Kaylee says, I think there's a playlist called Sitcoms since 20th century television shows aren't just on ABC since they aired on other networks. I think it would make a lot of sense. I think that would make sense. Elias says, Captain America 4 had a small depreciation this weekend, so I wonder if the Doomsday announcement helps some people to realize that the movie matters in the narrative for Avengers film. Maybe. It's kind of funny. My nephew today, when we were having lunch, he did say he wanted to see it. So that was good. But what's that movie at now anyway? The trouble is, I feel like box office numbers, it's a bit like sports for like movie nights. It's like, it did well, it did bad. It's like, it doesn't, in all honesty, it doesn't really make any difference. If you like the movie, you liked it. Whether or not it made any money is of no consequence to us. So the movie's pulled in over 400 million worldwide, which is, it's no point in saying it. That is not very good for a movie of that expense, and you would expect it to be at least double that. Melissa says, do you think it's going to help Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts to emphasize that these movies matter? 100% agree with you on that one. 100% agree on you with that one. Khaled says, I do remember that when they did the Doomsday stunt announcement, there's a lot of people on social who were rooting for the film. The thing is, and I said this to my mum today, social media isn't real. Social media is being manipulated. Social media now has become it's become a game, especially I think with engagement baiting, with the way that these like Facebook and Twitter are paying people for engagement. So therefore, what you are seeing is negative gets more clicks, gets more views. And so what's happening is we are really just seeing this just tumbling into more and more negativity because it makes more money for the people that are writing about. I tell you, if with Facebook and Twitter, if they turned around and we're like, right, no one's getting paid for this anymore, we're not paying you for this, all of this stuff, a lot of it would vanish. I would say half of it would vanish. There's a lot of money to be made by this just a never-ending grift of negativity. And I know it full well of, if I do an article that's with a negative title, it will get more money than something that's positive. And I'm not very good at spinning everything negative. I try to stay in the middle. If it's positive, sometimes it's just the news, ma'am. That's just, that's the news, and I'll let you make your own decision about it. But negativity will make more money. And I think we're in a cycle of, people talking about, there's also, it's cool to hate on Marvel now and the hate on Disney. I mean, I still get comments. I had some today, like still talking about like Disney, like it was 2 to 3 years ago, and it was like, really, you guys are still on the same record of, even though the company has completely changed direction and is doing everything that you wanted, they're doing it, and you are still barking at them to make the changes and it's like they're not even paying attention to what's actually happening because they're just, and it's just crazy of it all. And it's, I mean, yes, this weekend I have been this close to removing Twitter from my phone. I have been I cancelled the premium subscription on what's on Disney Plus. I've just had enough of it. I can't deal with it anymore. That's just me. I'm just worn out. I think this year's is just worn me out with all of this. I think I've just reached a point where I can't care anymore. Alita says it was reported that the entire cast wasn't announced for Doomsday. Do you think there'll be a part 2, or hopefully not the chairs, or they'll just wait for SEC? I think there's some of the element of they are going to want to give us some surprises, and they are going to announce them, but also realistically, of how many characters can they reveal at once, where it doesn't become completely just how many characters can be in this movie. There's a lot of stuff in there that they definitely they have to be careful of. Kelly said Marvel Studios is lucky that RJM is going to be part of Doomsday, since without him, the rest of the cast can't draw a dime due to casuals having no idea who these actors are. I would not necessarily. I think Avengers without Robert Downey Jr. would have been fine. I do think with him back, it's got intrigued in it. I do think Chris Evans is back. The fact that he returned from Daredevil or Deadpool and Wolverine, to me, blew that whole thing up. Of the fact that he's already returned now means that he's much more likely, and if he can play a Captain Hydra or whatever it is, I think he'll be interested in doing that kind of thing. I think he's had a break. I think this is the other thing as well, was all the Marvel movie actors were like on just this constant treadmill. Then we had the pandemic, and they've had a few years off that they're probably now going, well, I probably could do this every, once a year or every other year. Let's do Derek's question here. Thank you so much for the super chat. Derek says, what reasons do you think Disney went through with releasing Snow White knowing it would fail, even though they had enough time to cancel it and do a write-off? Right. So my big thing for this is optics and PR. If Disney was basically in a damned if they do, damned if they don't, no matter what they do, they were going to lose money. And putting that out and staying on course has meant then they're taking a hit. They're taking all the slack, they're taking all the negativity, and they're just taking it on the chin. The movie will go through its cycle, and in 2 months' time, everyone will move on and they'll forget about it. And you'll have the odd person chiping up every single time about the movie, but no one's going to pay any attention, especially when it gets out onto Disney Plus and people start seeing it and seeing it in their own eyes and going, actually, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. And that's going to have a big impact when it gets out into the broader spectrum of people being able to go, well, it wasn't good, but it wasn't bad. And therefore, that will ease off the thing of it being really bad. Because a lot of people that are hating on it are never going to watch it. And also, by then, there'll be something else that they'll be wanting to moan about and grift about. At the minute, Snow White is the beating horse of the month. But next month, there'll be something else for them to go on about. So that's kind of it. If they did a tax loss and just wrote it off, how bad is that going to look that Disney spent $100+ million on a movie that they were too scared to release because of the public reaction? It doesn't look good. It was the movie that, was supposed to be a big one for them. It would have probably made them look even worse and even weaker, and would have got it. You know what it's like with some of the other movies of what, like where people are constantly ratting on it. Get it out there, get it over with, get some money back, get on it and get it and move on to the next thing. And that is what this movie was. Because I think if they did do a big cut and just axed it, they would have just been forever just like people were just going, and yeah. So this way they've gone, you want to complain? We don't care. We've got our money. We've done what we needed to. It's out. It's done. It's over with. Next, please. But again, big thank you for your question, Derek. So yeah, that's why I don't think they did. I can recommend Blue Sky. It's almost the same as I have got it. I don't really. I do post a little bit on there, but I don't know. I think I'm just getting a bit burnt out from it. Just constant negativity just drives me up the wall. Just like now, I'll pick it up there will just be literally, and even though I keep hiding everybody and saying I'm not interested, they just keep getting more and more stuff coming through. And most of it is nothing. Let's see what we've got here. Aaliyah says, if the reviews for Snow White were very good, excellent, along with the word of mouth, I think it could have overcome that in many ways. Yet when the reviews were awful and word of mouth was awful, it was well, I think it's a combination of all of it. And I actually don't think that Snow White, even if it was the best movie in the world ever, if that was the greatest movie they'd ever made, it still would have struggled to overcome it, because hating on it is cool. And that is what people have, on social media have kind of, it's a butt of the joke, and therefore it can't get past that. Miles says, what is your perspective on Alan Bergman's future as the co-chairman of Disney and the chairman of Walt Disney Studios in light of the poor performance of Snow White? I think he'll be fine. I think they're going to look at the other movies, because you've got to remember, he's covering all of Walt Disney Studios, not just the main Disney studio. They've got a new person in charge of the live action. Yeah, I think he'll probably be all right, as long as they keep making, at the end of the day, his division last year brought in the 3 biggest movies of the year: Moana 2, Deadpool, and Inside Out 2. If he does the same this year, he'll be safe. If they all flop, then yeah, he'll be gone. Mo says, what are you looking forward to, Ellen McKay? To be honest, no idea. I've not seen any pictures of it. I don't know what it's about. It's kind of hard, I think, for some with like some of these ones in advance, if you don't know like what the book is or anything like that. Yeah, so to be honest, I've got, it's not even on my radar. I think once the trailer comes out, it'll be a bit different. Matt says, I heard that Marvel cancelled the Blade project. I did see that, but it seems to have come from just someone on Twitter, and there's like none of the trades are picked up on it, so I'm not running. It's not happening yet. Bobatronic says, do you think that ESPN will change the name and branding to make it the flagship light? I still think ESPN Plus will eventually be rolled into it. The one and only Tinkerbell says, there are slightly more women than men on the planet, and there are more people of color than white people, so white men are definitely not the majority of cinema goers. I think you are 100% right, 100%. But the problem is the whole system is based around one area in the world, and that's what they think is the whole world, and that's the problem. They're making a movie that if they don't like it, the rest of the world doesn't seem to be of any interest, because this is the thing of why, having, people of color, having different ethnicities, different races, different genders, etc. Again, you're trying to sell a movie to a big audience. You're trying to sell, Disney are trying to sell a movie to people in Latin America. You're trying to sell a movie in Asia. You're trying to sell a movie in Europe and in North America and the Pacific. You're trying to sell a movie to multiple countries around the world. So therefore, if everything is just based on what it looks like in the Midwest, that's not going to really sell very well in Latin America and in Asia. So they have to be much more, but there are still stories that are important from the Midwest. I just pulled that out there. They can pull stuff in from there. So there is a big audience from that. And I think this is where, again, Disney aren't just making movies just for Middle America. They are making movies for the world. Same thing with their shows, but there's a lot more emphasis on what's happening there at the minute than anywhere else. And it's the same thing, like you say, with the women. But there's one thing that I will state this, that there's nothing wrong with making a movie or a show targeting a specific audience. I mean, obviously they want to get it bigger as they can, but if you're going to make a TV show that is aimed at, Latino millennials, Latin, Latino millennials, or you're going to be making a show which appeals to, Asian, boomers, whatever it is, there's no for female, whatever it is you're targeting it at, you can make a show, make a film, and that's the prime audience. And I think they need more of that. If you're going to bring out Bridget Jones's Diary, that is going to be watched more by women. That's good. That's great. Make some stuff like that. Make movies that people, and I think that's kind of got lost. Not everything. If you make everything for everyone, nothing really sticks. Everything becomes a bit vanilla-y, And that's the problem. We want some flavors. We want a little bit of chocolate. We want a bit of pistachio. We want some strawberry. And if everything was just vanilla, it would be dull. And so that you can look into that as it is. So I do 100% agree with you that there is a problem, and they've got to find the boundaries for it. And I think the Hollywood system and the TV system has been built for generations and generations on that. That's who their target audience was, and they just shipped that out to the globally, and they expect the rest of the world that we would just keep sucking that up. Things are changing, things are moving. Asia is, China is drastically shifting, its audience. India is another country, Disney couldn't handle it in India. They had to team up with somebody else because they couldn't get the job done on their own. And I think that is, very telling that they couldn't quite get the Indian audience right, and therefore they had to get in a team that could do it properly. That's the way I look at it. And I think Disney does sometimes think way too much, just focuses on what the US audience likes and doesn't really give a hoot about the rest of the world. As Elias says, I wonder if they would have been better off sending Snow White to Disney Plus for premium access for the first 3 months and then making it available to everyone else. I disagree with that from the point of view that Disney are trying to retrain us to go to the cinema and to wait for and to either buy on digital and go to or wait rather than waiting for Disney Plus. And the trouble is, if they keep rushing movies that aren't working straight to like Disney Plus, they keep then reinforcing that thing of because Universal do it where a movie flops and it's on digital really quickly. What if Disney do that? They kind of have to be kind of careful with how that is. Let's see what we've got here. Elias says, with Captain 4 worldwide, box office at 2.3 times production, by the numbers, so it's at break even. Yeah, I think, when you throw in the digital sales, the DVD sales, the Disney Plus advertising, the advertising on some, other areas and merchandise, they're probably all right, but they would have liked a little bit more than that. In my Snow White question, I used prolific victory. It's a victory that inflicts such a devastating toll on the victor that, you are. I think that's definitely right. That Snow White got beaten so bad, I don't think it ever was going to be ever going to win. Matt says, how many Marvel movies will they have in Phase 6? There's going to be a lot less. I think at the minute we know it's going to be Fantastic Four, the 2 Avengers movies, and Spider-Man. I think that might be it. I think they're going to try I think they are going to get this phase over with. I think they're going to put out 1 movie. I think we're just going to get the Avengers movies. And I think they are just going to go, you know what? Marvel just needs a little bit of space. We just need to give Marvel, we do a big one and we let people wait. I think that's what they're doing. I think personally, this year, they probably would have been better off bumping Fantastic Four back till, either bump Fantastic Four back till Christmas or something like that. But I think that's definitely a problem. Disney probably made more money with Snow White from the merchandise. That way they could get a tax than they would have from a tax write-off. Yeah, definitely. Kelly says, if they did a tax write-off for Snow White, I know Disney would have faced lawsuits for representation for the actresses. Yeah, it just would have been so much bad PR on top of more bad PR. It would have been a mess. I disagree with the idea that social media not being the real world, since the lines are blurring. Internet hate has influenced the elections. It definitely has, and it does it influences a lot of people. But also, there's so much the online echo chamber it does flick over to it, but it's also, again, we're being manipulated. The algorithm is showing us the stuff that they, it's just got crazy. Because if you took all that away, People would have a very different view of what's going on. Babatronic says, should Disney put Disney Plus originals on FX or Hulu? Well, they kind of already put Disney Plus originals on Hulu already. Disney Plus originals don't really make a lot of sense on FX at the minute. When do you think the coming soon section? Probably not till they sort out Hulu. Elias says, with diversity, if you focus on a specific one, then the budget needs to be adjusted. 100% agree on that one. If tempo all demos, such as much as possible, then the budget can be higher. Issue was high dollars for target demo. I think that's definitely right. 100% there. Excellent point about theatrical retraining. This is why I agree with you. That's no. I mean, when do I think it? I mean, I could see it dropping on like bang on 100 days, so they can just get it over with. But yeah, I think June. Yeah, I think June definitely could be it. And could you see them doing a live action version of Bambi? No. There was a lot of talk about it. I do believe the director that was attached to it said that they never were, and it was all a lie. Disney are going to go nowhere near this right now. There's no way they're going to go near a live action remake of Bambi. They've got their fingers burned, and they just know the audience doesn't want it. The one and only, and just a quick note as well, if you've got any last minute questions, feel free to pop them in, because once we reach the end of these, I will wrap it up for the day. The one and only Tinkerbell says, I think that what happened with Blade is they removed the name from the timeline with future movies, but I think this is the only because they can't say when it will release, not because they've given up for it. If they give a release date and don't keep it, it'll be bad publicity. 100% agree that they don't want to give another date out when they're not ready. Personally, with Blade, get it filmed, then do when it's filmed, then you don't do the date until you've got it filmed. But I honestly don't think it's going to happen in phase 6. I think they're going to wrap up this multiverse saga, and they're going to give us a few years of a lot less Marvel. I think we're about to go into a new era. I think this year is, we got 3 movies and about a lot of series. But next year, I think we're going to get 1 movie, maybe 2, and a couple of series. I think we're really, really going to go in there. Ken said, I'm fine with Disney doing a 100-day exclusive theatrical window for the releases. After that, it's VOD before Hulu. I think the 100-day exclusive before streaming makes sense. I do think it makes sense at 60 days to send it to digital. Shows no, most people prefer. It's funny that as the show's gone on, that vote has shifted much more to the binge model has definitely coming in. Yes, Miles, I did mention the Octave Collective. The thing is as far as the whatever that word is, Oxy Collective or whatever it is, that is not a word that exists in my normal vocabulary that I've ever seen other than Disney's, and I've never actually heard it mentioned in the real world. So therefore, and as I don't think that whatever that studio is called will probably not be around by the end of the year. That'll be my guess on that one. Right, okay, on LX, on X, on LX, on it. See, it makes no sense. See, why if it's pronounced on LX, or why not use an L? Why use a Y? if you're gonna see, yeah, there we go. And as I said, it won't make any difference because it's gonna be gone soon. If I could put a bet down on it, I think that's the thing. On X. Again, it just doesn't make any sense. Right. Dana says, so you think the ESPN flagship happens, Hulu and ESPN becomes fully integrated into Disney Plus? I think ESPN Plus will get overridden by ESPN flagship. And I think they're going to do Hulu and Disney Plus together, and then it'll be, you can get Disney Plus with Hulu flagship. That's going to be, it's an eye on eye. Never, whatever it's called, whatever this thing is called, it doesn't, it's the Onyx. Oh, never mind. Whatever it's called. I can't pronounce today. Right. On that note, on that bombshell, I'll be back next week with another live Q&A. So big thank you to everyone for joining in live. Big thank you to everyone for being members. Big hello and thank you. And to Aaliyah, Dana, Miles, Khalid,
The one and only Tinkerbell Mats. We got big thank you again to Derek for your super chat. Bob Trolling. Just seeing if I missed anyone. Just going through, making sure I didn't miss anyone. Chris, thank you so much for your continued support as well. Yeah, I think that is. Oh, Babak, thank you so much. And on that note, guys, thank you very much. I shall see you guys soon. Laters.